It is 5:30 or just gone in the morning on a Saturday. Obviously, any normal person isn't awake at this time. So myself, Coach Craig, we're on the way up to Birmingham Triathlon. The slightly ironic thing about Birmingham Triathlon is that it's about an hour and a half away from Birmingham itself. So I suppose a bit like having the Bristol Triathlon in Birmingham.
Just heading down to Alderford Lake to watch the Birmingham Triathlon. Really looking forward to seeing some really tenacious athletes go at it this morning. It's fairly nippy at the minute, but suspect it will warm up.
Oh, I've got to say, the older I get and the more I drive, the more I do feel like Alan Partridge, particularly when the camera's in this position and I'm talking to it. Aha! Here we are. I beat Craig. He's took a wrong turning, but nevertheless, here in good time. The only problem is it's 4 degrees and I still think it's summer. I think it's going to be a bit nippy. Get lost.
I got lost at the M6 joining the M54 junction.
So it's race day and most of you will have done a training taper. In other words, to maximise your performance, increase your fitness by removing fatigue that's built up over those weeks and months of hard training. However, there's a lot of articles on this and people tend to follow certain things, yet little of the time do people actually follow the actual evidence, the science that informs is the best way that you can taper. So we're just going to share now a couple of things, tips that you can do that's scientifically proven to maximise your performance on a day like today. There's something that we call an exponential taper. It's a scientific word to do with the science of tapering for endurance sports, and what it means is when you do your taper, you want to start that taper the day it starts by dropping the volume right down. So instead of kind of decreasing the volume steadily over the days into your taper, you want to start with a sharp drop in that volume. And again, that's a method that we've been shown to make sure that people's physical performance in terms of things like their oxygen uptake, their heart rate, and all the things that are associated with your performance on your triathlon day are higher than if you use another approach, which again is more just steady. So start with a fast taper. How long should your taper be? So looking at all the evidence that compares different lengths of taper, we know that a period of around about 5 to 10 days to do your training taper is probably optimal, but it's worth saying early on, your taper is very individual and specific to you. It's based on the training that you've done, but also the event that you're training for, whether that's a sprint triathlon or whether it's something like a full Ironman. That will influence the length of the taper as well. So it's worth saying early on that a taper, even though it's based on science, there is still an art to it, and that's where you need to learn and think about how your body responds just to select that right length for you. The most important variable that you change with your triathlon training in your taper is the volume. It's the distances that you're covering. Now, one of the key things that usually happens and goes wrong is people reduce the volume. Now, as we said, we want to do that aggressively and sharply to start with. But also what tends to happen, this is the negative, is they also drop the intensity of what they're doing. And by intensity, I just mean, for example, the average pace that they're cycling at, the minute mile pace that they're running at. And science is really clear that if there's one thing we know where you can go wrong, is that if you drop intensity as well as dropping the volume that you're doing in your taper, you are not going to have the same degree of physical performance when it comes to race day on a day like today. So yes, drop the volume, be clear with that, but maintain the intensity of your training via that minute mile pace or via the average speed that you're moving. Last but not least, the frequency in which you train during your taper. Again, I'd say this is the most likely thing that you could get wrong. So when you're reducing the amount of training that you're doing, it should be via the volume, but not by the frequency of training. Again, this is something that's really, really clear in the research, is that if you drop the frequencies, the amount that you're training during your taper, again, your physical performance, the things that underpin that aren't going to be as good, as superior when it comes to race day. So maintain the number of training sessions that you're doing across the 3 disciplines going into that last couple of days before you go into complete or active rest for that 48, 72 hours. Only lower down the volume. So as a summary, volume drops, intensity is maintained, session frequency is maintained, you have your 48 to 72 hours of rest or active rest, you are then good to go, maximal performance, and have a fantastic race day.
So, heading home now. Triathlon filming done for the day at Birmingham Triathlon event in Shropshire. It's boiling hot now, glorious day. Don't really know why I'm still sat in the car with my hoop hat on, but here we go, time for the journey home.